for the sound of the bell. Mind calm, body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence. Wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Vairochana Mahamudra. Mani Padme Jvala Pravartaya.
Please stand for the chanting and recitation of the three refuges. Chi Xin Huyền Nhong Đề Chi Phong
Mang Chahe Sanju Ilche
And please repeat after me this English version. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha
And resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
And realize the great way.
and realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma
And resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha
And resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Please return for another shorter period of meditation, about 5 minutes, which will be followed by a Dharma talk from our priest, Maum Gloria Cox.
Please join me in some stretching. Remembering to breathe with each of these movements. As we open, we breathe in. As we fold or close, we breathe out. Yeah, the singing bowl, please. Good morning, dear Dharma friends. Today, we open and close with a single verse from the Dhammapada. The world is on fire, and are you laughing? Today, we are aware that the entire West Coast is burning. The fire of the pandemic continues to burn as well, and the anger associated with social injustice. So never has there been a more important time for us to engage in our practice as deeply as we can and to offer the fruits of that practice to the world in which we live. It's important for us to do our practice with a clear mind without being hindered. So for the past several weeks, we have been talking about 5 hindrances, and we're going to continue with this today. So as a reminder, a hindrance is an impediment to our practice, to our character development, something that prevents us from developing our full potential as human beings. So the 5 hindrances are desiring greed. We spoke about that last week. We referred to that one last week. Ill will and aversion. Hayun will talk about that next week. Sloth and torpor. Kusa spoke about that one. Restlessness and worry. Hayun gave a Dharma talk on this a few weeks ago. And the one we're doing today is uncertainty or doubt. So to begin our exploration of this topic, I would like to do a little bit of a guided meditation to get in touch with what doubt really feels like. So please settle yourself, sit still, bring attention to your breathing, close your eyes if you wish. This meditation is from Ajahn Thirodhammo. Consciously bring up the thought, what will happen tomorrow? And rather than try and think of some answer, see if you can be with the experience of not knowing, uncertainty, doubt, maybe even confusion, worry, or fear, which this question may elicit. Be aware of the sensations in the body. Is there a specific place where the sensations are especially strong? The heart, belly, neck, face, hands? What is the feeling associated with these sensations? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral? Observe the mental experience. Can you be aware of the experience of not knowing, confusion, or whatever it is? Or do you observe the mind furiously trying to fill in the blank, distract you from this state, or refuse to allow this state of not knowing to manifest? Are you able to peacefully observe whatever is going on in the mind? What is the feeling associated with this experience? Return now to your breathing. How is the breathing this time? Now relax your posture and open your mind. So this is what doubt feels like. The experience of not knowing. And as I worked with it throughout the week, I noticed, I realized how often it really comes up and that it takes many different forms. So physical sensations, as in our guided meditation, when doubt arises, there's a lot of tension associated with that. And being able to be in the body and notice those is very important. Indecisiveness is another form of doubt. And I've noticed this coming up frequently enough in my life. Sometimes just very small things, like should I cook broccoli or should I cook spinach? And going back and forth on a small question like that. or sometimes the indecisiveness is of a broader nature of how to work with a conflict in relationships, seeing many sides of it and not being able to decide the best course of action. Sometimes the doubt manifested itself as lack of action. All these pieces of a puzzle, and too many are missing. So, an inability to move forward or holding back. So, lots of things trigger this doubt. Externally, something that triggers doubt for me is, should I vote by mail in this upcoming election? And there has been a lot of talk about this in the press and a lot of political views. And our president seems to be the master at creating doubt and uncertainty. And so I have this sense of anxiety because I do want to vote absentee. Is it okay to go ahead and do that? That's an example of being triggered externally. And then I find myself being triggered a lot internally, all these internal doubts. We're creating a new meditation class. And so, what direction to go with that class? And how to give this Dharma talk that I'm giving today. All sorts of things like this that I create internally. The Sanskrit word for doubt is vikikicha, and it's translated as perplexity or uncertainty. It's very closely related to delusion and ignorance. Ignorance being one of the three basic poisons that keeps us going around and around and around in this cycle of suffering. And as we said, one of the main features is indecisiveness. And in the extreme, this translates to mental inertia or paralysis. So the simile for doubt is a pot of water that is muddy. If there is a pot of water which is turbid, stirred up and muddy, and this pot is put in a dark place, then a person with normal faculty of sight could not properly recognize and see the image of their own face. In the same way, one's mind is possessed by doubt, overpowered by doubt, then one cannot properly see the escape from doubt which has arisen. Then one does not properly understand one's old welfare, nor that of another, nor that of both. And also texts memorized a long time ago do not come into one's mind, not to speak of those not memorized. So the scriptures just kind of escape us in this instance. So we all experience doubt, but the question is, when does it become a hindrance? We said that a hindrance impedes development of the mind. It's a distraction that keeps us from seeing clearly, impeding our ability to see the truth. It prevents spiritual growth, and it prevents us from actualizing our human potential. So our goal in the Buddhist practice, our goal is clear seeing, character development, actualizing our potential. So it is very important for us to begin to understand and to deal with this hindrance. The first step is noticing doubt. And on a very mundane, everyday level, I look around Ann Arbor, and I see it is full of very exceptional people who have worked so hard to connect to this top-notch academic institution, who come here to be within the arts community, to work on startups, all sorts of things. Very exceptional people here. and they work so hard to get to Ann Arbor. Getting into the university, coming with a well-balanced application that not only includes academic achievement, but also working in the community, winning awards, all these kinds of things, this great big resume. The thing is, as I look at many of these exceptional people, there is I notice an element of doubt and fear arising a lot. So they've had to live up to some lofty standard all their life. And maybe the message that they've been given is, well, you were not the valedictorian of your class, so you do not quite measure up. Your sibling got into Harvard. How come you only landed in Ann Arbor? These kinds of messages. And so even very exceptional people are plagued with doubts, plagued with this sense of lack of self-confidence and worth. And sometimes they cry themselves to sleep at night. They're overwhelmed with these feelings of inadequacy. There are, as I worked with doubts, discovered different kinds of doubts. And so I'm going to reflect upon some of my own experience to try to explain these different kinds. So the first kind we're going to talk about is self-doubt. And as I think about my journey in the practice, my journey to this place right now is sitting in front of you, wearing a casa, giving a Dharma talk. It has been one long string of doubts. First of all, it took me 10 years to move into the temple. And that 10 years was a series of steps of, first of all, learning to meditate, taking precepts, joining in the training programs, learning how to lead various kinds of services, all of these things. And in each step had this sense of deep inadequacy. I mean, no way, Jose, I can't do that. And never will I ever be a priest. I promise I'm not going to do that. But guess what? Here I am. So I must learn to work with those doubts, those self-doubts in some way, shape, or form. So self-doubt as a hindrance, they're still there for me to some degree, to quite an extent. On a pretty regular basis, say, I'm just not cut out for doing this. I have no wisdom. I have no compassion. I have not much to offer to the community. And I have the capacity to still harm others through my unskillfulness, through my lack of sensitivity, through my lack of wisdom. And this causes great consternation for me. So how does one change these attitudes of hindrances? First, if we just reflect back on the basic experience of living in community, for me, that was really different because my whole adult life, I'd always lived by myself as a single person. And then moving into the temple, suddenly there's a lot of other people interacting in various ways. And so when these feelings of doubt come up, some examples might be, well, not only in myself, but in also I would say maybe my expectations of others. So I would start doubting when I realized that not everybody was going to get up at 5:30 in the morning and join me in practice. And that must be failed leadership, but eventually over time came to realize that each person who comes here is working on their own stuff and needs to work it out in their own ways. So part of this is just being there, being in the situation, being able to muddle through the messiness and the doubts. Good friends are an important part of this journey. Um, Look around, there are many inspiring teachers and members of our Sangha who I can go to and have talks, receive encouragement, also have them shine a light to see that what areas I could improve. And this, I think, helps bring me back to a sense of equanimity. One trick I learned was I can fight doubt with doubt. And the way I do this is I ask myself this question: are you sure? So, are you sure that you can't learn to sit still? Are you sure that you can't allow the unknowing mind to arise? Are you sure you can't do the practice? Are you sure you can't offer compassion by listening to people? So fighting doubt with doubt is an important aspect of this. At the same time, I would also acknowledge when the doubt leads me to places of unskillfulness, things that I need to change, it's very important to embrace that. So it's not that I'm always trying to get rid of the doubt, but rather I am trying to use this doubt as a tool to help in transformation. A second type of self-doubt has to do with doubts about the practice or the teaching. So I think I probably am never going to understand the Diamond Sutra, no matter how many times I hear it and read it. I think, well, that must be lack of wisdom. But really, that, again, is just part of the journey of working with the scripture again and again, coming to a deeper level of understanding. And will I ever have enough experience, enough wisdom to be able to give a Dharma talk that's not just reading somebody else's words? And I feel like I am coming along on that journey a little bit. So a second kind of doubt, or rather, a second kind of doubt that I want to get into is the doubt that arises and expresses itself as confusion. And this is a distracted mind. We lose sight of what is important. My daily routine includes a lot of mundane tasks. I'm sitting at my desks doing bookkeeping, scheduling meetings, answering phone calls, preparing for meetings, all of these kinds of things. And in these routines, I get confused about what's important. So I'm thinking, I have to finish this spreadsheet. And somebody comes and they knock on my door and they want to talk to me and they want me to help them process things. And so in my confusion, that is created in that moment, I sort of miss the opportunity to have that deep conversation. So if you feel yourself in this distracted mind a lot, if you do a lot of multitasking, and this creates doubt, it creates uncertainty about where to go next, what to do next, what is important. One way to work with that actually is to work with your physical environment. So look around your space. Are you working in a place where papers are stacked all over the place? Is your room clean? So just creating an uncluttered space amazingly can help settle the mind in pretty amazing ways. And then a third and fourth kind of doubt I'm going to merge together. So worry and indecision and fear. I think these are on a little bit of a continuum. So if you think of worry and indecision, that's sort of a persistent doubt that goes on for a long time. And this often arises when we are in the midst of some major change in our life or some big life decision. And so worrying about um, where should I move next? Which job offer should I accept? These kinds of things. And I used to create a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of scenarios. Here's scenario A, scenario B, scenario C, and the pros and cons of each, and just go round and round and round in my head and be unable to arrive at a decision of any sort. And through the practice of several years, I've realized that I have a different tool than that. It doesn't have to be an analytical solution. Maybe I just go sit on the mat and cushion, or maybe I go out in nature and sit still, get in touch with my body, what is going on in my body, and allow a different kind of answer to arise altogether. So maybe the answer that comes up for me is, I need to engage in loving kindness meditation. I need to have a conversation with a wise friend instead of forcing the solution through some sort of analytical method. And then further down the continuum, doubt can be expressed as fear. In our world today, I find there is a lot of fear. It has an external source, perhaps, and it can be paralyzing when we think of all that is going on in our world. And so the fear, being in touch with that deep, deep form of doubt, it's important, again, to come back to the body and just really see what is going on so that we have a chance to sit still and be with the deep doubt, the deep fear, allowing the solution to arise on its own. So as I think, for example, of climate change, all of the fires building on the West Coast, the sense of doubt that I can have any impact, any influence at all. As I sit with that fear, that sadness, a sense of loving kindness arises in my practice. A sense of witnessing, being able just to bear witness to what is going on is something very important. So these are some ways that come to me of working with doubt when it manifests as fear. The thing that I find I need to avoid is dropping into this mode of self-protection, of keeping things out, keeping the fear away. Instead, it's important to embrace it. So all of these various forms of doubt, and we've gone down kind of the gamut of it. So we have self-doubt, doubt in the efficacy of the practices. We've had confusion, we've had worry, we've had fear. What the key, I think there's some repeating themes in how we deal with this hindrance of doubt. And so the first theme is notice. Just allow ourselves to recognize what is going on. The second is to investigate. What is the nature of this doubt? And where does it come from? What type of doubt is it? So this investigation can involve going into the nature of doubt itself and getting back to the root, that it arises from this state of not knowing. Investigating the method that we are using to address that doubt. Is it the right method? Are we applying our analytical mind or something more intuitive, for example? Investigate whether we are asking even the right question about this doubt. So there's noticing, investigation. A third aspect of this is good spiritual friends. We always get back to Sangha, the importance of our being together when we are working with doubts, the importance of the collective mind having a much greater solution than the individual mind, the importance of receiving encouragement, the importance of friends shining light on our shortcomings so that we can work with doubt in a more skillful way. So remember, and I think Kusa said this in his talk, that when we're encountering a hindrance, this is not so much negative to be gotten rid of, but rather a source of self-knowledge and transformation. And we try to turn that hindrance into a helper, something that takes us to a deeper, more profound level. In our tradition, we have something called great doubt. And so this is going to even yet another level beyond the skeptical doubt, beyond the types of strategies that we have been talking about, beyond playing off of creating that intuition. But this great doubt, we pursue in our meditation practice as a form of deep questioning. And the purpose of this, often the question we're asking is, what is it? So what is it that keeps me going on like this? What is it that sees? What is it that hears? What is it that knows? And going continually back to this deep, challenging question takes us more closely into the realm of that unknowing mind, to experience that more directly, the unknowing mind being the place where great wisdom resides. And so we cultivate great doubt. So before we go back to Hajusunan and our Dhammapada verse, I want to offer a few thoughts from our founder, Samasunam. And this is about faith, because faith, of course, is an essential component of working with doubt. It is the Buddhist belief that we can always help ourselves spiritually, no matter what our life is like. The only reason we don't is our lack of trust in ourselves. We do not believe that we are originally Buddhas. So that's faith. It is as though we question the existence of the sun on a cloudy day because we cannot see the sunlight. Once the clouds scatter, we realize that the sunshine and blue mountains have always been there. Likewise, once we gain wisdom, we know that we have been Buddhas all along. So please return from time to time to the 5 hindrances. Continue your practice, delving into each as deeply as you can, so that then in these troubling times, we can offer our full selves to the current world and the current situation that we're in. And so, Hajusунam.
Good morning, all you good folks. This morning before the service, I just felt so strongly about those verses from the Dhammapada. The world is on fire, and are you laughing? And I felt we together should, or I should, come up with some verses for us to be continually refined. But here's the first draft. And the I, O, U is from the great Parinirvana Sutra service, the Buddha's passing, where there's this great sorrow being expressed about, in that case, the Buddha's passing. And I bring it in because of how we feel about the fires, the pandemic, the difficulties in this American culture. The world is on fire, and are you laughing? In these verses, the Buddha asked us to see through the falsity and futility of all desire. May we not befool ourselves anymore. May we see clearly and accordingly support our Mother Earth. And we send our love and support to our fellow beings on the West Coast. Humans, animals, vegetative life, all beings. May you be safe and well and supported from the fire and smoke all around you. May we all face the great problems and become a part of the solution. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo and always going toward the light and the pure land on behalf of all beings. Namo Amitabha. Passing now to Hayun for this morning's announcements. And I have one, two.
Okay. Just gonna make a cameo appearance here.
If you can hear me, there are three of us managing this, plus we have someone in the background on the porch sitting in.
Hi everyone, making a cameo appearance. This is Hayun, so being camera person. Welcome to the temple today. Thank you, Ma'um, for that wonderful talk. I doubt I can do any better than you did, but I will try in the announcements to make it succinct. First of all, Dr. Lu next week? Okay, very special announcement. Is this what you were going to talk about? So I'll save that for you.
Okay.
Secondly, I wanted to let you know that there is a practice period that is going to be starting next Sunday after morning services. Many of you have participated in Ann Arbor in practice periods, so now wherever you live, you can participate. It's basically when you join with a group, and it'll be via Zoom, so you can actually you dedicate a practice. Say, this is going to be my practice for the next 5 weeks. You come together and share about your practice. You also have a common study, and this study is going to be a very important one. It's going to be the Four Noble Truths. And it's going to be led by our Dharma guardians, Maju Brian Gens and Bopi Bendera. So please, if you haven't signed up yet, take this opportunity. It's a wonderful way to connect with others in the Sangha and with maintaining a good, solid practice and sharing with people. So we invite you to that. Secondly, there's a little time left if you'd like to join in a Tuesday evening meditation training led by Ma'um. It's going to be like our other meditation training, but a little more expansive. So I think some of you who have already taken the introduction to meditation class will actually really get a lot out of it. So it is Tuesday evenings, 7 p.m. till 8:30 p.m. each night, and it's really, I think, going to be really meaningful. So contact the temple about either of those. Our email address is annarborzentemple@gmail.com, or call us 734-761-6520. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is, well, two things. First of all, we're coming to the end of our outdoor ability to have practice in Burns Park. So if you haven't done it yet, or even if you have, please join us 6:15 in the morning, most mornings. On our e-bulletin, we sort of outline which ones we don't. I think it's Wednesdays and Saturdays we don't have it, but every other day we're in Burns Park, and until the weather holds up, till the end of September, if it's nice weather, we'll be out there. We ask you to join us for a beautiful meditation in the park. The second thing is that on Saturdays, we have work practice here. I think in the future, we're going to have a specially dedicated work practice, but we have a lot of things to put away for the cooler weather. So we would really appreciate it if you'd like to do some outside work. Saturdays from 9 until 12. So we invite you to join us for that. There's lots of ways to connect, even though we can't really connect the way we're always used to connecting. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, though, and I hope you can join us. So I'm going to turn it over to Haju Sunim to talk about Dr. Lu.
Hi again. Some of you may know that Dr. Lu has spoken here the last 3 years, usually in the springtime. But this year, because of COVID, we are doing it now rather than in the springtime, next week. So the person giving the talk next week will actually be Dr. Lu. And he is a wonderful Chinese doctor, quite a character. And he has had a lot of experience. Just currently, he's working with other doctors and scientists to try to come up with a vaccine for the COVID. And so he's working at the world level on doing that. Plus, he has his clinic still going and sort of 7 days a week. And I have found it's best if we have questions for him. So I encourage you to send along in the chat or to the temple or to me any question you might have. And really, the sky is the limit on questions. This man has a wise answer through his work all these years as a doctor, first in China, and also being in the monastery. From the time he was 3 until he went out to university, he was in a monastery learning about Chinese medicine. So he has a very deep background for us to learn from. So please join us next week. And in the meantime, the sky's the limit on the questions. So please send them. And again, thanks to Maun for her wonderful talk today. And we're going to end with the 4 great vows. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
Have a very good day wherever you are. And I know some of you are out in California. May you be well. May you be safe. We send our support for you and to you. Not just California, but Oregon and Washington too. Yeah. And if you're in another place and it's a different kind of fire, we are also thinking about you. Okay. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha.